Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam. Now today we start Bhagwatam class. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrutyam Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatvajayam Udiret. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Nishtiki. Hare Krishna Dandat Pranam. Today we continue Srimad Bhagwatam Canto 11 chapter 21 Lord Krishna's explanation of the Vedic path. Shloka number 5 to 10. Bhumi Ambo Agni Anila Akasha Bhutanam Panchadhatava Abhastavar Adinam Sharirira Atma Sanyutaha Vedena Nama Rupani Vishamani Sameshu Api Dhatushu Uddhava Kalpayante Etesham Swartha Siddhaye देशकाल आदिभावानां वस्तुनां मम सत्तमः गुणदोषे विधीयते नियम अर्थम हि कर्मणां अकृष्णसारः देशानां ब्रह्मण्यः अशुचिः भवेत् कृष्णसार अपि सौवीर असौवीर कीकट असंस्कृत कीरिणम् कर्मण्यः गुणवान् काल द्रव्यत स्वत एव वा यत निवर्तते कर्म सह दोष अकर्मक स्मृत द्रव्यस्य शुद्धि अशुद्धि च द्रव्येन वचनेन च संस्कारेण अथ कालेन महत्व अल्पतया अथवा. Translation and purport by the Srila Prabhupada. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Earth, water, fire, air and ether are the 5 basic elements that constitute the bodies of all souls, from Lord Brahma himself down to the non-moving creature. These elements are emanates from the one personality of Godhead. My dear Uddhava, although all material bodies are composed of the same 5 elements and are thus equal, the Vedic literature consume of different names and forms in relation to such bodies so that the living entities may achieve their goal of life. O saintly Uddhava, in order to restrict materialistic activities, I have established that which is proper and improper among all material things, including time, space, and all physical objects. Among places, those bereft of the spotted antelope, those devoid of devotion to the Brahmana, those possessing spotted antelopes, but bereft of respectable name. Provinces like Kita and places where cleanliness and purificatory rites are neglected, where meat eaters are prominent, or where the earth is barren, are also considered to be contaminated lands. A specific time is considered pure, when it is appropriate either by its own nature or through achievement of suitable paraphernalia for the performance of one's prescribed duty. The time which impedes the performance of one's duty is considered impure. An object purity or impurity is established by application of another object, by words, by rituals, by the effects of time, or according to relative magnitude. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All material bodies are composed of different proportions of the same 5 gross elements, which emanates from the one personality of Godhead and cover the living entities who are all in the Jiva category. The concepts of good and bad depend on the choice of the Supreme Lord and not on inherent qualitative differences in material objects. A Krishna conscious person ultimately sees all material phenomena as one. The devotee's good behavior, intelligent discrimination, and artistic sense within the material world are all based on the will of God. The material elements, being emanations from the Supreme Lord, are ultimately all non-different. However, advocates of mundane piety fear that if the material duality of good and bad is minimized, people will become immoral or anarchistic. Certainly, personal and uh, atheistic philosophy preached by modern scientists, in which material variety is reduced to mere mathematical descriptions of molecular and atomic particles, leads to immoral society. Although both material science and Vedic knowledge uncover the illusion of material variety and reveal the ultimate oneness of all material energy. Only the devotees of Lord Krishna are surrendered to the supreme absolute piety of God's will. Thus, they always act for the benefit of all living entities, accepting material variety in the Lord's service according to the Lord's desire. Without Krishna consciousness or God consciousness, people cannot understand the absolute position of spiritual goodness. Instead, they artificially try to construct a civilization based on interdependent self-interest on the material platform. Such a foolish arrangement easily collapses, as evidenced by widespread social conflicts and chaos in the modern age. All members of a civilized society must accept the absolute authority of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then social peace and harmony will not rest on the flimsy relative platform of mundane piety and sin. The word Namarupani Vishamani refer to the system of Varnashram Dharma, in which members of human society are designated according to four social and four occupational divisions. Those dedicated to intellectual or religious perfection are called Brahmanas. Those dedicated to political perfection are called Kshatriyas. Those dedicated to financial perfection are called Vaishyas. And those dedicated to eating, sleeping, sex, and honest work are called Shudras. Such propensities arise from the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Because the pure soul is not materially intellectual, ambitious for power, enterprising, or servile. Rather, the pure soul is always absorbed in loving devotion to the Supreme Lord. If the various propensities of a conditioned soul are not engaged in the Varnashram system, they will certainly be misused, and thus that person will fall down from the standard of human life. The Vedic system is designed by the Lord so that conditioned souls may pursue their individual achievements and at the same time advance toward the ultimate goal of life, Krishna consciousness. Just as the doctor deals with a crazy man by speaking to him sympathetically in terms of his false conception of life, one who understands the Vedic literature engages the living entities according to their illusory identification with the elements of matter. Although all material bodies are composed of the same material elements and are thus qualitatively identical, as described here by the word Sameshu, the Vedic social system Varnashram is created to engage all human beings in Krishna consciousness according to their various degrees of material identification. The absolute good is the Supreme Lord Himself, and that which approaches the Supreme Lord becomes similarly good, because the sun is the source of heat within this world. An object that approaches the sun becomes hotter and hotter until it merges into fire. In the same manner, as we approach the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead, we automatically become surcharged with absolute goodness. Although this knowledge is real basis of the Vedic literature, mundane piety is enjoined and sin is prohibited, so that one can gradually come to the platform of material goodness, whereupon spiritual knowledge becomes visible. The word niyama artham, in order to restrict, is significant in this verse. A conditioned soul falsely identifies with his material senses and thus considers anything giving immediate satisfaction to the body to be good and anything inconvenient or disturbing to be bad. By higher intelligence, however, one recognizes long-term self-interest and danger. For example, medicine may be immediately bitter, but by calculating one's long-term interest, one accepts the bitter medicine to cure a disease that is not immediately troublesome but ultimately fatal. Similarly, Vedic literature restricts the sinful propensities of human beings by establishing what is proper and what is improper among all the objects and activities of the material world. Because everyone must eat, the Vedas prescribe foods in the mode of goodness and not those which are sinful, such as meat, fish, and eggs. Similarly, one is advised to live in a peaceful and pious community and not in association with sinful person. nor in an unclean or turbulent environment. By designating and restricting the exploitation of the material world, Vedic knowledge gradually brings a conditioned soul to the platform of material goodness. At that stage, one becomes eligible to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead and enter the transcendental stage of life. It should be remembered that such mere eligibility does not constitute actual qualification. Without Krishna consciousness, mere mundane piety can never qualify a conditioned soul to go back home, back to Godhead. Within this world, we are all infected by false pride, which must be diminished through submission to the Vedic injunctions. One who is completely engaged in the loving service of the Lord need not adopt these preliminary methods, for he directly contacts the personality of Godhead through the spontaneous process of surrender. In the previous verse, the Lord explained why Vedic literature assigned different values to the bodies of different living entities. And here the Lord explains the Vedic value system in regard to the material object that interact with these bodies. The word Krishnasar refers to the spotted antelope whose hide is used by brahmachari while residing in the ashrama of the spiritual master. Brahmachari never hunt in the forest, but rather accept skin from those animals already deceased. The skin of the black or spotted antelope is also used as a garment by those receiving instruction in the execution of Vedic sacrifice. Therefore, since sacrifice cannot be properly performed in areas bereft of such creature, these places are impure. Furthermore, although the inhabitant of a particular place may be expert in performing spiritual activities and ritualistic sacrifices, if they are inimical to the devotional service of the Lord, such a place is also polluted. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that previously the provinces of Bihar and Bengal were bereft of devotional service to the Lord, and were considered impure. Then great Vaishnavas such as Jaidev appeared in these territories, converting them into the holy places. The word Asavira indicates those places without Suvira, respected saintly persons. Ordinarily, a person who obeys the state laws is considered a respectable citizen. In the same way, one who strictly obeys the law of God is considered to be a cultured or decent man, Suvira. The place where such intelligent person reside is called Soviram. Kikat refers to the modern state of Bihar, which traditionally has been known as a territory of uncivilized men. Even in such provinces, however, any place where saintly person gather is considered to be holy. On the other hand, a province of generally respectable persons is immediately polluted by the presence of sinful men. Samskruta indicates lack of external cleanliness as well as the absence of purificatory ceremonies for internal cleanliness. Srila Madhvacharya quotes from the Skanda Purana as follows. Religious person should reside within an 8-mile radius of rivers, ocean, mountains, hermitages, forests, spiritual cities, or places where the Shaligram Shila is found. All other places should be considered kikat or contaminated. But if even in such contaminated places, black and spotted antelopes are found, one may reside there as long as sinful persons are not also present. Even if sinful persons are present, if the civil power rests with respectable authorities, one may remain. Similarly, one may dwell wherever the deity of Vishnu is duly installed and worshipped. The Lord here elaborates upon the theme of piety and sin, which are based on purity and impurity. Thus, pure and contaminated places of residence are described here.
Having discussed pure and impure places, the Lord now discusses different qualities of time. Certain times, such as the Brahma Muhurta, the last few hours before sunrise, are always auspicious for spiritual advancement. Other times, not auspicious in themselves, become so, by achievement of material prosperity that facilitates one's mission in life.
Political, social, or economic disturbances that obstruct the execution of one's religious duties are considered inauspicious times. Similarly, a woman is considered contaminated just after childbirth or during her menstrual period. She cannot perform ordinary religious activities at such times, which are therefore inauspicious and impure. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that the most auspicious of all times is the moment one achieves the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one neglects the loving service of the Lord, being carried away by sense gratification, he is certainly living in most unauspicious at times. Therefore, that moment in which one achieves the association of the Supreme Lord or the Lord's pure devotee is the most auspicious time, whereas the moment of losing such association is most inauspicious. In other words, the perfection of life is simply Krishna consciousness, by which one transcends the dualities of time and space caused by the three modes of material nature. Clothing is purified by application of clean water and contaminated by application of urine. The words of a saintly Brahmana are pure, but the sound vibration of a materialistic person is contaminated by lust and envy. A saintly devotee explains actual purity to other, whereas a non-devotee makes false propaganda that leads people to commit polluted sinful activities. Pure rituals are those meant for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while materialistic ceremonies are those that lead their followers into materialistic and demoniac activities. The word sanskaran also indicates that the purity or impurity of a particular object is ascertained according to the regulations of ritualistic performances. For example, a flower to be offered to the deity must be purified with water. For flowers or food cannot be offered to the deity. However, if they have been contaminated by being smelled or tasted before the offering, the word kalena indicates that certain substances are purified by time and others contaminated by time. Rainwater, for example, is considered pure after 10 days time and after 3 days in cases of emergency. On the other hand, certain foods decay in time and thus become impure. Mahatva indicates that great bodies of water do not become contaminated, and alpataya means that a small amount of water can easily become polluted or stagnant. In the same way, a great soul is not polluted by occasional contact with materialistic person, whereas one whose devotion to God is very small is easily carried away and put into doubt by bad association. In terms of combination with other substances and in terms of speech, ritual, time, and magnitude, the purity and impurity of all objects can be ascertained. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur remarks that impure or decayed food is certainly forbidden for normal persons, but permissible for those who have no other means of subsistence. Thus end the purport. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Ena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manamabhishtam Sthapitam Ena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Sri Guru Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhecha Krupa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam. Now continuing Srimad Bhagwatam, Canto 11, Chapter 21, Lord's explanation of the Vedic ploth. In these shlokas, I understanding only three, 4 points, which more important. In these shlokas, Krishna describing about pure and impure places. Second, different qualities of time, as Brahma Murta, etc. On third point, purity and impurity of different places, time, and material objects. And fourth, purification of the place, time, substance, the doer, the mantras, and the six substances. All these are describing in this shlokas. Prabhuji will tell you in detail. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Vancha kalpatarubhe cha, Rupa Sindhuve eva cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Mataji. So this is a very important shloka that we have seen in this particular chapter. What marks our understanding most important here is how Krishna is explaining what is most important in our life. So Krishna is saying that right from Brahma to even the non-living creatures, everyone has been created with the five basic elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And so Krishna says, tells Uddhava that though the bodies are composed of five elements, they may seem equal. But then the Vedas conceive of different names and forms so that living entities may achieve the goals of life. So it is very important that in order to restrict materialistic activities, we have to understand the material things which are proper and improper, including time, space, and physical options. Because if we do not follow the Vedas, we do not follow the earth, then our activities can be such wherein we may end up in contaminated lands. Like Krishna says that the places where we don't see antelope, where there are no brahmanas, where there are no respectable men, where you have uncleanliness, where there are meat eaters, where the earth is barren, they are all contaminated lands. And then he gives examples like Hikata, provinces like Hikata. But then he says that if a brahmana comes there and spreads the good news, that land can become pure. And we have seen this especially in terms of Bengal. This is what Prabhupada mentions in the Purpose. If the Krishna also comes up, what is Mudrat, or the pure time and the impure time. So Krishna says that a specific time is considered pure when it is appropriate because of its own nature or because of suitable parapor, wherein we can do our prescribed duty. And if there is any time which impedes the performance of our duty, then it is impure. So whether it is pure or impure will be established by how you are going to be applying that object. By words, by rituals, by the effects, or maybe by relative magnitude. And Rupachi used to give this example of the loudspeaker or the microphone. It is material, but then he utilized it for spreading across the consciousness, and it became spiritual. That is how it becomes important that you follow the Varnashrama Dharma as well. Because the Vedic system is designed so that we, the conditioned souls, we pursue our individual achievements. Same time, advance towards the ultimate goal of life, Krishna Prema. Like a mad person, when we have the psychiatric patient, the doctor just sympathetically keeps on listening and trying to make him understand about his false conception of life. Similarly, the Vedas, they're trying to make us understand our illusory identification with matter. And the moment we'll be able to understand it and overcome it, we'll be in a better position to go back home, back to Godhead. So mundane fighting and sin, though it is prohibited and it helps us go to the platform of material godness, what is most important is spiritual knowledge. That is the most important aspect of life. Krishna Sahara. So that is what we have to understand. So we have to come together. Religious person should reside ideally within fertile places, forests, cemeteries. And if we are in a place which is fertile, then our bhakti can also improve. That is why Prabhupada has recommended to create devotee communities. Even if you see the gurus, Radheshyam Prabhuji, and everyone nowadays talking about creating devotee communities. One devotee in each society, make all the people come together at their home, start discussion of Bhagavad Gita, one shloka a week, one round of chanting a week, and slowly convert everything and everyone so that it becomes a fertile place, a place full of happiness and suitable enough for us to develop our bhakti in such a way that we go back home, back to God. Hare Krishna. Cheto darpanamaarjanam vamatavagnirvapanam shreyakairav chandrika vikarnam vidyavadhujivanam anandambudivardhanam pratipadam purnamritasvadanam sarvatmasrapnam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam नाम कार्य बहुधा निज सर्वशक्ति तत्रार्पिता नियमित स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवं दृशं जनिनानुरागं पुनादपि सुनिचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिनामानदेन कीर्तनीय सदा हरि न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश काम मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहितु की त्वयि अयि नन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विष्णुर्भाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पात्रं प्रगसितसदृशं विचिन्तय नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकेन चित्तं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणं न भविष्यति युगायितं निमीशेन चक्षुषा प्रावरुषायितं शून्यायितं जगत् सर्वं गोविन्दविहरेण मे आश्रित्य वा पात्रतां पिनष्टु मम दर्शनान् मर्मातां करोतु वा यथा तथा विधातुलं पटुमत्पान्नाथस्तु स एव नापरम् प्रभु शिक्षाष्टक श्लोक यही पढ़े सुने कृष्ण प्रेम भक्ति तार बाटे दिने दिने then offenses to the holy name. One, to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for repeating the holy name of the Lord. Two, to consider the names of the gods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of the Lord Vishnu. Three, to disobey the orders of the spiritual master. Four, to blaspheme the Vedic scriptures or scriptures in questions to the Vedic legend. Five, to consider the glories of the chanting of Hare Krishna to man imagination. Six, to give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. Seven, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. Eight, to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are mentioned in the Vedas as prepared with its current time. 9, to instruct a faithless person of the glories of the holy name. 10, to not have complete faith in the chanting of the holy name and to maintain material attachment. You are not understanding so many instructions on this matter. The should unite into while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to achieve a divine success. Krishna prayer. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya. Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi